Boom! Savio, officially a Manchester City player at last. It's not a surprise, it has been coming. We all knew this day would come, but that day is today. He's holding up a Manchester City shirt, and I'm incredibly excited about the prospect of what Savio's going to bring. 40 million euros is the reported fee. We have a bit of a mixed reports on that one, as well as the Premier League as well. They're kicking off about, well, they were kicking off about it at least, because we went from spending too much money on players to not spending enough on players. You can't win. You can't win being a City fan. You just can't win. But 40 million euros is the reported fee from Troyes. That has to be reiterated because obviously he's come from Troyes. He was on loan at Girona last season. Both clubs are under the umbrella of Manchester City Football Group. Well, City Football Group, not Manchester City Football Group. City Football Group, let's get it right. But I think that system is starting to bear fruits for Manchester City. A very succulent, juicy Brazilian fruit called Sávio. And I'm incredibly excited. I really, really am. Let's have a look at his stats for last season at least. And why have we signed Sávio? That was a point I also wanted to make as well, and to go into detail as to why, but I very nearly made one of those analytical videos that I've been doing with a little bit more razzle-dazzle, lightning effects, doing all that stuff for my videos and stuff. I have been making some edited videos lately, but I thought, nah, get behind the camera, old school Johnny on typical City, because I'm not going to stop making these types of videos where I just click record and start waffling, which is proved to be a success last year, so I don't see, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But some of you are enjoying the new edited videos, so I won't be stopping them, and I'm not going to be stopping these types of videos. But I thought about the signing of Savio, and I thought, you know what, it doesn't take a genius to work out why we've signed him. And if you are interested, I'll pop a little YouTube card so you can check out the Grealish video that I made, which was kind of linked to Savio in truth, because the signing of Savio, as well as factoring in the signing of Doku, very much spells problems for Jack Grealish for me, and in what his game time's going to be. I love Jack Grealish, by the way, as a person. I love him as a player. In the treble-winning season, he was phenomenal. His contribution was there for all to see. Last season, injuries played a part for Jack Grealish, but now the arrival of Savio and already having Doku there, what's Jack Grealish going to do? The same can be said for Bernardo Silva. We know what we get with Bernardo Silva, but you can't have three wingers. You only have two wingers. So Bernardo Silva's either got to come inside or on the bench or play ahead of Savio or play ahead of Doku. So there's going to have to be someone dropped. And in those little three, Jack Grealish is surely fourth in the pecking order. Potentially even fifth, if you want to consider Foden to be a wide player. Still, I know most of you don't. I personally think he's very much cemented now as a central player for Manchester City. We know Bernardo Silva can tuck inside. Can Jack Grealish tuck inside? I would like to see that, to be honest. I really would like to see Jack Grealish come inside for Manchester City. But anyway, I said I'll show you his stats, and I've not done it. So here they are, 2023-24 for Savio. 41 appearances, 3,253 minutes. 11 goals, 10 assists in 41 appearances. That is just over a goal contribution every other game. Unbelievable. 21 goal contribution for 41 appearances is phenomenal for what was at the time a 19-year-old winger. Brilliant. 57 chances created. Successful dribbles per 90 minutes, basically 2.98, and that is reflected here, which is these are the top 6 dribblers in La Liga last season. Far and away the top of the pile in this list for most successful dribbles completed in 2023-24 season in La Liga. Savio ahead of Nico Williams, who is highly sought after. What a player he is, by the way. But Savio, dribbling, in terms of dribbling, boom. Isco, I can't believe he's still rocking up dribbles like this. What is he now, 69? 674? I don't know how old Isco is, but like, Jesus Christ. Still rocking dribbles, isn't he? Absolutely balling it. Greenwood. Let's not get personal about Greenwood, because, I mean, how's he still playing football is beyond me. But anyway, 72 dribbles for Greenwood. Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. 2 superstars at the bottom of this list, by the way, which is interesting. But Savio, far and away, and there's your answer as to why we've signed him. Now, where is he going to play? Is he going to play on the left? Is he going to play on the right? He pretty much all last season played on the left. So that would be going back to a very old school bit of a Leroy Sané Sterling combination if you were to have, because you could have the two hammers, as in Doku and Savio, couldn't you? Or you could have a hammer and a chisel with Bernardo Silva and Doku or Savio. Or you could have a chisel and a chisel, which would be a very slow, methodical, could end up being a wonderful piece of art at the end of it with the two chisels. It'd take a long time to make a piece of art, but sometimes you need a big bloody dock-off hammer and go whack, don't you? And that's what Doku and Savio are bringing. And Erling Haaland, waiting in the middle of that penalty area for a cutback from Doku or from Savio. Which side? For me, it depends on how Pep wants to play it. Personally, I could see Savio playing on the left, being a left-footed player, getting to the byline on his natural foot, being able to either dink it into the box back post or cut it back. Same on the other side for Jeremy Doku, naturally onto his right foot, bursting to that byline, rather than having that tendency to cut back inside, which narrows the play, squeezes the gaps, reduces the size of those channels that Manchester City like to find in between full-back and centre-back. Instead, we can go to the byline and Haaland is just going to be gobbling up these chances. And don't forget, Artem Dovbyk, the Ukrainian 6'2" centre-forward, scored 25 goals for Girona last season. So they're very much used to, well, Savio's very much used to having a winger that's going to be dinking in, having a centre-forward in there that's an absolute unit, a big guy to target for his crosses. It's an absolute sensational signing for me, and it's incredibly exciting to see City going back to the Sterling and Sané days, which for me, well, that was the 100-point season, wasn't it? That's when we absolutely wiped the floor with the Premier League. Will we do it next season? I'm not too sure, but it's going to be really interesting to see what this means for the squad as well, because you talk about the direct replacements. Well, it's not replacements, but Jack Grealish, how's he fitting in? Bernardo Silva, how's he going to fit in? I also think this takes away that pressure to sign a creative right-back. In particular, if you're going to play Doku ahead of him or Savio ahead of him, and I'm talking about Walker. I'm not a big hater of Walker. I know majority of City fans have turned their back on him already. I think that's a little bit harsh. I remember what he's all about. I think people are very much focused on last season when he was asked to do a job that Walker wasn't very much comfortable with. Going forward and being that creative outlet, which I don't think is his strong point and never has been his strong point. And he actually did okay, considering it is one of his weakest part of his games. He's not a creative player, Kyle Walker. But put him in a one-on-one defensive scenario where he has to use his speed defensively. I feel like he's still got it. Positional awareness, sometimes I feel like Kyle Walker can be caught in two minds at times, but he's constantly in two minds as to whether to go forward or to go back. If you tell Kyle Walker your job is to defend and defend only, then maybe he can focus on his positional awareness a little bit better in defensive moments rather than having to get back and being caught out of position and to be made to look like a fool just because he's asked to go so far forward. And I feel like having Doku ahead of him, you don't want Kyle Walker going far forward, or Savio ahead of him. Again, you don't want Walker going forward into that position, crowding the area where our wingers are, where they want to be isolated in one-on-one scenarios. Doku and Savio, the two best dribblers in the Premier League they will be next season. Doku was actually the second best because it was Mohamed Kudus of West Ham, a surprise package that is an unbelievable dribbler. But Doku, not far behind. You add Savio to that, he will be the third in terms of statistics. If you bring over the Liga statistics into the Premier League, Savio and Doku is just a frightening prospect. And the idea that he's already linked up with Artem Dovbyk is exciting. Haaland is obviously, well, I wouldn't say twice the player, but in terms of statistics, could be. Goal-wise, goal contribution-wise, Erling Haaland is going to be absolutely rubbing his feet together just to get those cutbacks. Now, Savio, has he got a weak spot? For me, I think it's probably goals. He gets them, but, you know, he doesn't create many chances for himself. So let's have a quick look at this statistics I've got here. So total number of shots by the same players as well. So I've bunched it with those same players to give you a spectrum of how he was doing compared to the likes of Greenwood, Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., Isco, and Nico Williams. Yeah, very, very low on that list of. So that to me screams of someone who's not very selfish, which is rare for a Brazilian. Normally they do like to have a pop shot, don't they? As you can see, Rodrigo and Vinicius Jr., they're at the top, having quite a high number of shots themselves. But that's great news for Haaland because he doesn't want players to be selfish. He's the selfish player, Erling Haaland. He wants to... Everyone give me the chances and I'll put it in the back of the net for you. That's Haaland's job. So maybe that could bode well for City. But if you actually convert that into goals per shot, Savio shoots right back to the top. So maybe this could be an indication that Pep should be encouraging Savio to shoot more. You know, because he's gone straight to the top of the pile. So his actual shot goal conversion rate... better than the rest on that list. Greenwood, who was top of the pile for total number of shots, shoots right to the bottom with 0.06, and Savio's getting 0.2 every time per shot, a goal. So brilliant from Savio. So he actually can put that ball in the back of the net. A little bit reluctant to take some shots. Maybe he could be encouraged to do more. One thing I would be excited to see as well would be to have Doku on the one side and Savio on the other. And what we saw so much in the Sterling and Sane days was back post tap-ins, usually for Sterling. Sterling was brilliant at ghosting in at a back post for a cross that was usually coming in from either Mendy or from Sane back in the day. And Sterling was brilliant at just like ghosting in and getting a simple tap-in. In fact, the amount he missed, Sterling should have had a bag full of chances. He did score a bag full of tap-ins, but he missed so many as well, Sterling did. But you add Savio to that, and I mean, he could be doing exactly the same thing. Because, I mean, if Doku's doing all the damage on one side of the pitch, they're all going to drift over to that side of the pitch and create the spaces to ghost in at the back post for a simple tap-in if it goes beyond Erling Haaland. And that's where he could get a lot of his goals in a Manchester City shirt. And the same can be applied the other way for Jeremy Doku. As long as you time your runs, getting into that back post, you could get yourself 10 tap-ins per season, which is exactly what Erling Haaland lives off. You know, Sterling made a living off it. Haaland still is making a living off getting these tap-ins. And now you've got the cutback merchants of Doku and Savio providing those cutbacks, which is incredibly exciting to me. I'm absolutely over the moon with the signing. Who next for Manchester City? Will there be any other signing for me? Personally, I think most people will say they want a cover for a right back. They would like to see Kyle Walker gone. I know that's what most people will want. I'm okay if we were to sign Savio and a Rodri replacement. Not a replacement, but cover for Rodri. Someone who can play alongside Rodri as well as cover for Rodri and just give him the occasional rest. I think that's really, really important for City in this transfer window. And for me, I'd pull up the drawbridge there. I'd be okay with that. If we were to sign an additional right back, I think Kyle Walker's looking, this could be like his last season, considering his age and his performances as of late. They've dipped a little bit. I think that could be an area we definitely should be looking at, but we could get away with it. I think we could get away with it this season. But in terms of Rodri, I think we're pushing our luck in going into a season with just Rodri as our main number one defensive midfielder, because we brought Calvin Phillips in for that exact reason, and he failed to deliver, and he's gone now, and we've got no one else doing the job. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, John Stones and Akanji, they can push into that midfield role as well. But like I said, the reason why I'm not too bothered about Kyle Walker is because if you've got Savio and Doku ahead of them, the dependency on Kyle Walker to get forward won't be there. We could ask Kyle Walker to sit and defend and do what he does best, which makes me think we only need one other player, and that is a defensive midfielder, and we could call it a day on the transfer market, which might not be the most exciting transfer market because Savio's hardly new. We all knew about this happening quite some time ago, but it's incredibly exciting. It really is. What are your thoughts, Blues? Do you think we need to sign more than Savio and another defensive midfielder? Do you think it needs to be an extra right back, someone else? Is there someone in mind that you might have? Get in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts. Like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up Sávio.